Good evening. My name is Chuck Morris, Pastor Chuck Morris, the pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church and the CEO for Thrive New Orleans. It is my distinct pleasure to be your moderator, facilitator for this evening's very important meeting. The purpose of the meeting this evening, we are here to learn more about the River District and future development at the River District. So let's be respectful of one another. Let's be our brothers and sisters keepers. And let's understand that we're all in this together as we move forward in our city. I'd like to start off with a prayer. Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you, Lord, for this evening. God, we thank you for those that have made it out, God, to share their opinions, God, those that have come out just to hear about this project, God. We ask, God, that we do things decent and in order, God, that as we share our concerns, as we share our project, Lord, that we understand, God, that we be on one accord. We just thank you for all that you've done, God, and all that you do, God. We pray for our city, God. We pray for New Orleans, God, that we can help make this city a better place to live, work, and play, God. God, we also, God, pray for the world, as so many things are taking place in this world, all over the world, God. What the world needs now is peace, Lord. We ask that peace, God, that exceeds all understanding, God, rest, rule, and abide with us, Lord. We just thank you for this evening, and we thank you, God, that we will do things decent and in order, God. It is in your Son's name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen. So let's talk about, we want to have a very productive meeting this evening. Let's talk about some rules of engagement or rules to make this a productive meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to present information about the future development on the riverside of Tchoupitoulas only. Let me say that one more time. I'm a pastor, so I say things 2 or 3 times. But the purpose of this meeting is to present information about future development on the riverside of Tchoupitoulas only. We will not discuss Topgolf this evening. So if you're here to discuss Topgolf, you might want to just exit stage left right now, because that is not what we're here for this evening. We ask that you be respectful of the presenters and all attendees. Do not interrupt the presentation. Anyone who is disruptive will be asked in a very nice way to be respectful or leave. Please be respectful of the presenters and all the attendees. We have NOPD here. I pray that we will not need them. I don't think we're going to need them this evening, but if necessary, they will help escort you out of the building. We ask that you do not blurb out questions or comments at any time. It will just disrupt the presenters. We will have people from the organizations that are represented here handing out question cards for you. We ask that if you have questions, fill out your question card. And at the end of this presentation, your questions will be asked and will be answered by the partners that are here sitting next to my left and to my right. We want to ask outside cameras and video recording devices, please do not block anyone's view and do not block the aisles or exits. Let's make this a positive and productive meeting. Let's make sure when we walk out of this place, we serve our city well, and that this meeting will be conducive to us having a better city. Us having a better city, not only for us, but for our children. So my job, my role, my pleasure as being the facilitator is to make sure that we do this the right way and that we have open dialogue, but also that we're respectful of everyone that is in this space. Let's have a productive meeting. I'll come back to you later, and I will be asking questions, and then the group that's here to my left and right will answer your questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm privileged to be your facilitator tonight. Now I'm going to turn it over to Nicole Weber, who will lead the conversations from here. Thank you so very much for your attention and for your respect.
Thank you, Pastor Morse. Appreciate the introduction. as well as setting the rules for the meeting. If you notice, if you do act up, you have to wear a tutu and do a chicken dance. Please don't make us pull the tutu out. All jokes aside, there's a lot of ground that we have to cover tonight, so bear with us. We're going to try to cover all topics, but as Pastor Morse mentioned, if you didn't get a comment card, I have members of our team walking around who can provide you cards. We also have pens. There's Lisa in the back. So just let her know and she'll hand you a card. You can hold on to it, write down any questions or comments that you have, and as we go through the presentation, they'll also be walking around and gathering the cards and then organizing it by topic. We are going to try to address all questions tonight. However, we do have a hard stop at 8 p.m. So if we do not get to your question, please write your email address down. If you don't have email, please write your mailing address down. Make sure it's legible, because we will respond to your question and get back with you in the next coming days if we don't get to address your question tonight. So let's see, I will start the presentation. Here is that gorgeous comment card provided by City Planning Commission. I would like to introduce the rest of the team members of RD&I. It's moving on its own. Let's see, there we go. I'd like to introduce the rest of my team members who are here tonight. In front of me, I have Louis Lauricella. Land. So going back to 2019, Louis originally put together the team, and he's been kind of our shepherd in some instances. So thank you, Louis, for being here. We also have Sean Barney. Where's Sean? There's Sean in the back. Sean Barty with Port Orleans. And then we also have Michael Meredith. Where's Michael? To my left. Michael Meredith, VPG Construction. And so we have 3 of our team members, including myself, Nicole Weber, as the partners. I'd also like to thank Allison Hartman. She helped to coordinate all this. Allison is our operations chief. There's Allison in the front. And now I'll introduce the team members who are to my left and my right. So we have, to my left, we've got Tiger Lion with Gensler. He's part of our planning and architecture team. Andrew Gaza with Gensler to my right. Joey LaFonte, he's our traffic engineer with Stantec. We also have Crystal James. She's our program manager with Thomas Consulting, and she is our compliance and outreach expert for DBE SCB participation. And all of these individuals will be speaking, and they're part of the presentation. I should have mentioned that in the beginning. We also have our construction affiliates. We have Rob Sr. with Bow Brothers. Nick Fleming, somewhere, there's Nick, Nick Fleming with Bow Brothers. We have Matt Ward with Broadmoor, and Grayson Tollett, he's in the back as well. And so Matt and Rob Sr. will be speaking as well. And I will, without further ado, go on to talk about some of the background of where we are. How do we get here, and where are we? And we'll be following. Did everybody get a copy of the agenda? You don't need one, but we do have copies of the agenda if you want to follow along there. We will also put all of this information, including the recorded video with the presentation, online at riverdistrictnola.com. That will be online by Friday, and it might be sooner. So check online, and you will get to watch this whole entire presentation and the meeting online with the presentation. So I know a lot of people are interested in the slides. You're welcome to take photos of it and record, but we will have this online for you to view as well. So there's just a couple of more housekeeping things that I have to go over. I'll get to that later, because that's not the fun part, but we are required for the neighborhood participation program to go over certain documents. But I do want to talk a little bit about, like I mentioned earlier, where are we coming from and where we are right now. So in terms of the Convention Center Neighborhood Overlay District, that was a text amendment that the City Council adopted in 2022. And that was part of our outreach efforts from 2021 to 2022. And in those outreach efforts, we were just during COVID regulations, so our NPP at that time was done through our through a website. We did it through YouTube, and then we also have it available on our website. And so if you ever want to go view that video of our NPP back from 2022, that was March of 2022, it is available. And that's when we went through the structure and the goals of the overlay district and what that intended. And so here is the purpose of our overlay district. And I think it's important to note because ours is based off of public benefits. It's based off of providing affordable housing and workforce housing. It's based off of stormwater management, a district stormwater management system, landscaping, pedestrian access, activating the street. There's nothing about New Orleans that screams things shut down at 5 o'clock at night, right? And so we want the River District to resemble what we love so much about New Orleans, and that is we're an active and social community. And so that lends to not only how we built our infrastructure, or we're going to build our infrastructure, how we've planned it, but also in our design as well. And the design guys from Gensler will speak more on that. So this is the area that the River District is located in. It's highlighted in yellow. The Convention Center Neighborhood Overlay District is the area that's outlined. And so the yellow areas, that's where we have the requirements to offer these public benefits and to allocate the public benefits throughout the yellow area. And why are we here tonight? We are here tonight because this is the second phase of our planning, of our zoning, and that is to implement the development master plan. And the development master plan takes the overlay district, it takes all those zoning regulations, and it shows you what you will see. It shows you our vision. It's not just words on a paper and some diagrams, but it's actual plans. It's landscaping, it's building elevations. It's the things that really tell the story of what we're trying to accomplish. Sorry, I forgot about the boring slides. Let me go back. I wanted to skip through them, but on behalf of City Planning Commission, we're going to go through one more, and that is online tools. There it is. Okay, so online tools. This is a handout that we do have available at the front desk, and I know this has been a question. Somebody asked, how do I get notices about your events? Or any type of neighborhood participation meetings that you're having. Well, go to our website, go to River District NOLA, and in that you can fill out the contact form or you can sign up for our newsletter. And that's going to be a resource for you to stay in touch with what's going on throughout the River District. Because as we move forward, this is not going to be the only neighborhood participation meeting. We're gonna have many more. Any of the buildings that are taller than 85 feet or are more than 40,000 square feet or more will have to have an NPP meeting. They'll have to send out letters to everyone within 1,200 feet of that particular site, and they'll have to hold a meeting just like tonight and put together an NPP report to submit along with their construction package and their plans. They'll have to submit that to the City Planning Commission. And the city planning staff will review it, and then they hold a meeting through the Design Advisory Committee, and that's what we're going through this process as well. The Design Advisory Committee will review it through their design review process, and then that will be your ability to participate in further developments that move forward, that again are taller than 85 feet and greater than 40,000 square feet. And now, Tiger, you can take on the fun and the pretty pictures, please.
All right, thank you, Nicole. As Nicole mentioned, my name's Tiger Line. I'm a design director with Gensler. First, I wanted to kind of talk about sort of our vision and guiding principles that have set the tone for not only the development team and the stakeholders, but also the design team. Those being really based around people, community, inclusion, opportunity, obviously the rich and vibrant culture of New Orleans, and most importantly, connectivity. And what that really means for us from a design point of view for the district is creating a mixed-use neighborhood that's focused around a multitude of residential typologies, which includes affordable housing, workforce housing, and market rate housing. It provides opportunities for different scales of office development and different scales of retail development from big and small. So it's about opportunity. It's about the 15-minute city, the principles based on the 15-minute city, which is really revolves around walkability within the district. It's the 15-minute access through either walking to get all the services that you would need in a normal neighborhood. It's 15 minutes on public transit to get to the amenities that you need, and it's 15-minute on a bicycle. So really, those are the principles that set kind of the infrastructure for the original proposal for the design, and they're the aspects of the design that we're still currently heavily focused on developing and bringing to the district. So the current layout, as most everyone in this room knows, we have the CCN overlay of the Convention Neighborhood District. What's indicated with the white dashed line is really the River District and what we're focused on. But the quick context is, currently as it stands, a lot of vacant land. It's adjacent to the convention center, light industrial, the freeway, and obviously neighborhoods to the west. And so really the big challenge for us and what we looked at was the importance of connecting the neighborhoods down to the riverfront towards the water. So that's really bringing the grid of the city through the site, breaking down the parcel sizes to more manageable sizes for walkability and development, but really connecting both east to west and north to south. So that set the framework for the infrastructure plan, which is currently in development, and also set the framework for the phasing of the master plan, which we'll briefly get into. So phase one, as it currently stands, is really focused on kind of the core of the development. So at the very center of the master plan is a public park that also also serves as the access for stormwater management and mitigation within the development. But it's tied together really with this notion of the town center, the green space, the urban public center, that's also anchored by a bus rapid transit station and public transportation. So that is the core of the development in which the rest evolves around. So that's currently located, like I said, right at the center of the development. The first phases are really parcel 2, which is indicated here, parcel 5, which is adjacent to the park in parcel 2, and parcel 6. And within that core development is really a mixture on parcel 2 of an office building, a boutique hotel, and retail along Chapatulas. On parcel 5, next to the public park, is a mixture of affordable and workforce housing. And parcel 6, which is towards the south side, is another mixture of hotel apartments and multifamily at market rate. Adjacent to that, for phase one, will be a series of surface parking lots, which are kind of indicated around the development. That's really to serve the core development as it stands with the current plan and design. Those surface lots in the future will be developed with high-density residential and office development, as well as district garages that will help serve the needs and demands of future planning and growth. Another important thing to kind of consider is a 1,000-car garage that serves also as the phase one parking district to the north. And then parcel 3 has the retail center and green space, flex space for the convention center. So these are really the core elements of phase one. And the intent is that it will grow and connect to the major entertainment anchors of the final development. And so this gives you an AXO perspective of really what that phase one development looks like and how it will be developed. Again, the importance of really bringing the street grids of both UTERP, Orange, and Race down to the waterfront, and then Convention Center Boulevard all the way down to the Market Street Power Plant. So establishing this grid and hierarchy and structure within the master plan is critical, and then really starting a phasing of development from inside out. Phase 2 looks, like I mentioned, to take further development of those surface lots. The idea is to increase the density of development, so looking at more high-rise buildings that speak to both office demand in the future market as well as residential. There's also a desire from a master plan to have variations of cultural and museums, as well as future hotels that can tie into the district. So at the end of the day, it's really about creating a variation of opportunity for different uses to come in and really provide that rich blend that you get in traditional mixed-use developments. It's important to note that most of these parcels will all be aligned with retail at the ground level, so it's really about activating the public realm as well. And here's an AXO that kind of shows what that development would look like in the future. So with that, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Andrew, to briefly talk about the CZO text amendment.
Thank you, Tiger. As Nicole and Tiger mentioned, my name is Andrew Gazda, and I'm an architect with Gensler in Houston. And I'd like to begin talking about the primary mechanism that will be used to achieve this increased density, this increased height, and really this whole project as a whole that you see for the River District. And that is the Convention Center neighborhood text amendment to the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. I know that's a lot. So diving into this overlay district, as Nicole mentioned earlier, it's intentionally created with the New Orleans City Planning Commission to promote the development of land adjacent to the Convention Center and overlooking the Mississippi River. Additionally, it was established to create a neighborhood that is inclusive, walkable, mixed use, and mixed income. A neighborhood for all New Orleans. This overlay district is the mechanism that will ensure the River District delivers the public benefits Nicole mentioned, and I'll get to in just a second, which are all already on their way. And all this will be achieved through zoning and allowances made within the CCN overlay district. I do want to dive into just one of these allowances, which is the height regulations. And so don't get scared. This is not what the River District will look like. But what I want you to take away from this diagram, and this is in the zoning ordinance, it's the max building height envelope. What I want you to take away from this is the sloping of development that's going to occur from the existing neighborhood of the Lower Garden District and slope up towards the riverfront and the flood wall. And so matching the base max height of 85 feet within the Lower Garden District, we'll start with that at 85 feet along Chop, and then it slopes all the way up to potentially 400 feet along the riverfront. And that's created using a sightline diagram where basically you take a point on the lake side of Chop, go up to that 85 point on the river side of Chop, and then draw a straight line up that. And so that's how you get these crazy weird shapes. But when we actually start looking at it and studying it, it looks something more like this, which is what we're studying for the Parcel 2A office building. And yes, while we can hypothetically, reach up to 400 feet for this parcel, we're looking at something much closer to 150 feet. And then the development naturally slopes back towards the Lower Garden District. And it's safe to assume similar development of this scale and this size and this sloping development for the parcels 5 and 6 that border Chop and the surrounding neighborhood. And so with that, I would like to dive deeper into the public benefits that we've mentioned. Let's see. That the River District will be providing to the everyday visitors, the patrons, and to the individual parcel developers. These are public benefits that we see included and utilized in similar major new mixed-use developments across the country. The first of these is public open space. The River District is required by the CZO to provide a minimum of 20% of its developable land as public open space. So that's parks, green spaces, plazas, etc. And two major ways that we will achieve this is through the extension of the existing Convention Center promenade. And as Tiger mentioned, that'll extend all the way down to the Market Street Power Plant. And then the second is the heart of the River District project, which is this Parcel 5 park. And so the bare minimum of this required 20% is currently being achieved within the master plan and the infrastructure. But as we start to study some of the individual parcels, such as Parcel 2A, which is the office building, and Parcels 5 and 6, the multifamily projects, we're realizing that the River District will far exceed this minimum 20% of public open space, which I think we all appreciate, and it's to the benefit of everybody in the city to have more parks, green spaces, and public open space. The second public benefit that the River District will be providing is district-based stormwater management. And it's not very exciting, but it is a huge, important aspect of this project. And this benefit actually works best when no one really realizes that it's even there. So what is stormwater management? Each property within a city is required to store a certain amount of water that lands within the bounds of its property during a storm event. The River District is providing the required storage as an aggregate, taking all the land from Chop to Front Street, from Orange to Henderson, and storing all of that, the stormwater necessary for that land under the Parcel 5 park. And so that, which is, again, between UTURP and Race on the lake side of Convention Center Boulevard. And interestingly, that stormwater management requirement is actually how we determine the size of the Parcel 5 park, which, again, is the heart of the River District. Understanding the volume and the storage necessary for the stormwater storage is what dictated where the building line of the Parcel 5 multifamily building will occur. For the third public benefit, I'd like to invite Joey LaFonte from Stantec to talk on traffic circulation in and around the River District. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Joey LaFonte with Stantec. And as Andrew said, the traffic plan, which you'll see on the screen, one of the goals of it was to extend the urban street grid that exists throughout the rest of the city down into the River District. New Orleans is actually, pretty strong as far as cities go around the country with having a nice street grid. A lot of cities don't have that. Streets kind of go willy-nilly. But that grid really helps you get around. It makes it easier for cars to have more options. It reduces distances that pedestrians have to walk to get from block to block. And it's a very versatile form of roadway. And then also in this area, we also have, besides the development, right, we already have a lot of traffic in this area today, which everybody knows. There's a lot of commuter traffic, people coming in and out of downtown on a daily basis. And then there's also port traffic, which comes down this corridor to get to the expressway. So for some of these special uses, we got a few maps which kind of go through some of them. You'll see here, this is the cargo traffic which services the convention center. In the back of the building, back here is where they unload and load for all of the shows that they have on. We'd be keeping the routing for those trucks similar to what they do today, where they come down Henderson Street from Tchoupitoulas and then turn around the back of the building. Today, trucks for the convention center and for the port stage along Henderson between Tchoupitoulas and the flood wall. That creates a barrier for people trying to get to the development from downtown. And so what we've looked at doing is reallocating that storage space. So they would stage in the last block after Convention Center Boulevard, and then have supplemental staging along Front Street for trucks to be able to turn off. And there'd be 2 stacking lanes right there. They'd be able to stage. So we can handle all that truck traffic without, leaving it on the roadway, blocking all those developmental parcels. The truck traffic for the Port of New Orleans cruise terminal is very similar. They have a lot of trucks that need to wait. They get there to service the cruise ships when they arrive, and those trucks need to wait until the passengers are off before they can service the boats. And so this gives them an area to be able to do that staging, both on Henderson and on Front Street as they wait for that. The cruise passenger traffic remains very similar to the way it is today. Passengers enter on Henderson Street, turns behind the flood wall, go to the cruise terminal with the parking garages and et cetera, and exit back to Henderson Street. So there's no change to that. And you'll see when they get back out to Tchoupitoulas, they have to get to the expressway. A lot of people hit the expressway, drivers, trucks, whatnot. And that's something that we're still in the planning stages with DOTD, to look at improvements to those roadways to help not just the new traffic with this site, but also for just the existing congestion that's out there. We're looking at ways to optimize the signals, add additional lanes, and kind of separate out the different flows, because right now everybody kind of goes through 1 or 2 choke points in this area, and it kind of gets jammed up with people going in and And then we've also got a detailed pedestrian plan, which you'll see on the screen. And from a basic level, I mean, pedestrians are basically on every street. There's sidewalks on every street. That's good urban design, right? And then the lines have some thicknesses to them. So I'd point out on Convention Center Boulevard, it's a thicker line. There's that existing park that runs along the front of this building, which will be extended into the development. And then also on Race Street, we see that as one of our primary multimodal cores going into the site. It hits, right there at that large green space on Parcel 5. And as you go up Race Street, you come across Annunciation Square and Coliseum Square. So we're connecting up these green spaces. That was really important to us, so that this development doesn't feel like an island. We want it to be interconnected with the rest of the city, so that it is, feels like it's always been there, right? It's not just something that got plopped in, didn't belong. And then we talked also about transit-oriented development. So in addition to having the bus stops, we've got one shown at Parcel 5 at the green space, and then a second one shown in front of that flexible green space across from the convention center itself. The development is allocating space for those bus lines for RTA to be able to add a BRT line. RTA has plans to do BRT from New Orleans East through downtown and across the river to Algiers. And so in order to accommodate that, we've got dedicated BRT lanes, bus lanes, from the expressway down to Race Street, so that the buses don't have to intermingle with the passenger vehicles and other modes like that. And then it's also shown on here as an option in red about a potential streetcar. So that's not currently planned, but it's something that the River District has, again, allocated space so that RTA has the flexibility in the future when their plans align to be able to add streetcar, extend the riverfront streetcar line through here. And it could use those same BRT lanes and those same stops, and it's all being planned with that in mind. And then I will pass it off to Michael Meredith to talk about affordable housing.
All right. Good evening. Gotta get the short people mic down here. But it's glad to see y'all faces, and obviously this has been a topic and a core of what we wanted to do as a master developer on this site, and I'm proud as a developer to be a part of a group that wanted to create a neighborhood that was for everybody, and affordable housing is a part of that. And I'll still. Sean, who's one of our partners, he says this a lot of times is, we brought value, to this, for the convention center, but we also brought values. And a part of that was making sure that we had attainable housing, affordable and workforce housing as a part of what we're doing here. So you see a conceptual rendering. Obviously, we've got one of the world's greatest architects, to be able to be alongside us on our journey here. And I'm not saying that just because they're behind me. I really do truly mean that. And a part of that is making sure that when somebody rides by and sees one of our developments, they don't point out that's the affordable building. We want to have high class and high end design for our folks. And so this kind of gives you a view of some of the sizing, the design elements, but also the amenities that go a part and are a part of this to make sure that this is a thriving development for years to come. So our team on affordable and workforce housing side have been hard at work since the beginning of this to be able to identify a plan and a path forward. On April 12th, we did submit an application for a 220-unit affordable and workforce housing development here on Parcel 5. And we are in competition with folks around the state, but we think what we've put forth is competitive, and excited about hearing where we are in the next step. So this kind of provides, a timeline of what to expect, on this award. In May, we'll start to get some feedback from LHC and respond back to them in June. But we're hopeful that by the end of June, we have an award on this Prime 3, and that would give us the go-ahead to move forward with the closing in April 30th of 2025, and then to be complete with construction in 2026. So this is a long process, right? And a process that's going to take patience, but we've been rolling from day one, as you see in our engagement architects, and even some of our conceptual plans here that are very well thought out to make sure that we're providing a neighborhood and density that is conducive but also affordable to the folks. And I want to have a point of clarity here. I get a lot of questions on what is affordable in workforce housing, so I'll go ahead and answer that question here at the mic here. So technical affordable, per LHC standards is where folks at 60% or below AMI can afford that. So typically we take a calculation of what that income is, and they can pay no more than 30% of that towards their rent, and so our rents are restricted at that. So, technical affordable is at 60% or below AMI. When we talk about workforce housing, that is up to 120% AMI. So, a person who makes, 1.2 times what the area median income, they're going to be able to spend no more than 30% of their income on housing, and that's where our rents are restricted. That is where we are compliant to, and that's what we do our reporting to. So I wanted to, staying here, we get a lot of definitions of what affordable and workforce housing. This is not Section 8 housing. This is not public housing. This is a mixed income neighborhood that has been shown to be successful all across the nation, and we're excited to be able to bring that to the River District and to New Orleans. So this does give you a little bit of view of massing and density on site, with the plan for both the park and for parking. Happy to answer questions down the road, details in that, but really wanted to show you the citizens that are inquiring about this, that we have been hard at work, and I'll hand it over to Tiger to talk a little bit more about the specifics on our design. Thank you.
You're not taking any questions right now, though?
No.
So I don't have a lot more to add. I think Mike said it well. One thing I will point out is the strategies for the affordable housing will be similar to the strategies for all housing within the district. And really that's, when you look at these diagrams, that's wrapping the ground floor with as much retail and activation as we can, residential lobbies at the ground floor. All these developments will need parking. It's important to be able to park all of these, but the intent is to try to wrap those on all four sides so that they're hard to see, they're hard to sort of make out within the development, and they're skinned in a way that ties in and feels like it's more of a traditional residential enclave. These are some of the design is not set in stone. These are conceptual images of how it could be developed. Really the character, the materiality, the ways we can break down scale within the massing, and then also looking at really what are some of the more important facades within the development, particularly those around the park, the green space, the main thoroughfares and the streets, where we might embellish or add money within the design, and then looking at other opportunities to where we can strategically think about how we develop the buildings from affordability standpoint. So these look at what the elevations might look like on the facades facing the park, what they might look like facing Race Street, and then as you move around, different ways of how you could break up the massing and articulate through materiality and color. But also the idea, again, if parking is brought out to the exterior of the building, designing it in a way to where it's screened and ties in with the architecture, particularly on the residential buildings, so that it feels like you're not looking at a garage, you're looking at a residential building.
Thank you. So continuing on with the next public benefit that the River District will be providing, and that's development tailored design standards. So within the CZO, just at a base level, each zoning category or overlay district is required to follow certain building standards. And within the CCN overlay, the building standards that the development group and the CPC staff have assembled together meet or exceed those you'd find throughout New Orleans. But to go above and beyond this, the River District has developed its own internal design guide. This is a similar strategy used for mixed-use developments around the country, and the design guide document includes guidelines that the individual vertical building developers will be required to follow. This will be overseen and managed by an internal board to ensure intentionally designed, high-quality, high-caliber sites, buildings, and pedestrian experiences that not all New Orleanians will want to live, work, and play within. The design guide document is over 100 pages, so not going to go through all of that right now, but I did just want to give you a quick overview of what it is. And it begins by looking at the urban network and how each of these parcels should be broken down and site planned. And then we start looking at each individual building and how they should be shaped and generally look in terms of building form, character, and quality. Then we dive into the buildings themselves and how they should be used. And then we are always emphasizing the pedestrian experience at really every moment we can within this document to ensure a neighborhood that people want to be a part of. And finally, the last public benefit that we want to touch on today is the Public Art Installation Program. And this has been a vision of the River District since its inception. The development team will work closely with local artists to envision and create unique local art throughout the neighborhood, and more to come on this in the future. And so back to Tiger to talk about the landscape design of the River District. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so I'll quickly go over some of the major landscape components of the design from our local partners here in New Orleans at SMM. Really, there's sort of 5 key strategies for how we're looking at landscaping the district. Those relate to really these ideas of landscape zones within the development, with a focus on materiality, both sustainability, but also materials that are common and prevalent in New Orleans. Lighting is really, really important, not only for vehicular, but probably more importantly is the pedestrian realm and the experience from a safety perspective, but also the way we want the district to look and feel, particularly at night. Green infrastructure, much of which has been covered prior to this with detention strategies. We're also encouraging future development to look at things like bioswales and rain gardens as a way to control water issues. And then obviously open spaces are a key component within the desire of the mixed-use master plan. And so those are all key components from a landscape perspective. The master plan is developed across 3 zones. And so really the first zone is more refined and ordered from a hierarchy standpoint in terms of landscaping. That's really along Convention Center and Henderson, and so that's really dictated there by the orange. As you go further into the district, that idea and hierarchy of landscape design starts to break down and become, as we describe, more wild and native. And as you finally get to the final landscape zone being 3 in the public spaces, it begins to become even more wild and native with tropical variations in planting. And so a great way to kind of look at that is with sort of a current project that SMM did here in New Orleans, where you start to really see the definition of that hierarchy along the pedestrian thoroughfare. As those landscape zones turn into projects or into public spaces, they start to transition to more tropical and wild landscape conditions. From a material standpoint, it's really about bringing in materiality that's local to New Orleans, that's robust, that stands the test of time and is durable. A lot of what we're looking at is heavy timber, concrete, Corten, and cobblestones, as well as materials that can work with more contemporary materials like aluminum, which are more prevalent in new building design. And so with that, I'll pass it on for the infrastructure.
Thank you, Tiger. Again, I'm Rob Senior with Bow Brothers, and I'm just going to give you a brief update on the infrastructure improvements. So the rough phasing we have here, phase 1 is going to be all of the sewer, water, and drainage on the campus, as well as the roadway improvements from Chapatulas to Convention Center Boulevard. Phase 2 would be the paving from Convention Center Boulevard to Front Street, which is the flood wall. And phase 3, which is still in design, are going to be improvements on Chapatulas and underneath the elevated section of US 90. So right now, we're doing exploratory excavations. We're waiting on the final permit approval, which we expect to get any day. We will be starting the sewer, water, and drainage at UTERP and working our way towards the flood wall. That'll begin next month and should last approximately 12 months. One of the first features of work that we're going to install is the stormwater detention system that Andrew spoke about that's going on Parcel 5 underneath the green space. That's sized based on the original 20% green space requirement, which, as Andrew referenced, is that will be exceeded. So the stormwater detention is 92,000 cubic feet. So based on those two criteria, it's a very conservative detention estimate. That water will then flow down Convention Center Boulevard, underground, and down to Henderson, so it won't see any of the surface streets. The next phase of work, the roadway work, will begin in November, be approximately 12 months. So we're looking at 18 months overall on the campus. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Tiger.
All right, thank you. And then finally, so we're kind of going from the macro to the micro, looking at really Parcel 2A office building and the development that we've done to date. So looking at the position within the master plan of where Parcel 2A office building is located, in this map, it's sort of indicated here by the red or the black outline. It's a 135,000 square foot office building. Some of the key aspects to the way it was planned in Maste: over a quarter of the lot was dedicated back to the public, which was a huge aspect for us from a planning standpoint, but also from a placemaking standpoint, being able to extend that green space at the center of the development across into the parcel, and to create a pocket park that could then be pulled back to the west to connect to the rest of Parcel 2 development in the future. But really providing that zone at the base of the building that could be a public asset and an amenity that would also serve as connecting back into the adjacent neighborhoods, to the convention center, and to public transportation that will happen on Parcel 5. The building is sort of broken into three major components, that really being the ground floor plane, which is a lobby and retail that sort of anchors both the public park on the parcel, as well as lining Convention Center and Henderson with opportunities for retail. The second to fifth floor of the building is dedicated to a garage to park the office component, and then the upper portion of the building is really 6 levels of office. The articulation and massing of the building, again, the intent is really to bring this green space into the property and activate it from a public realm. At the ground floor, we've pushed back parts of the building to increase the pedestrian experience around the building, particularly on Convention Center Boulevard, provide opportunities for patios for retail and restaurant F&B, but also to provide shade and more green space within the landscape realm. And then on the 6th floor, really pushing back in a similar way to help articulate the transition from the parking garage to the office building above, and really amplify the 6th floor terrace of the office building, which is also designed to be very, very green and lush, just like the ground floor. By doing that, we've sort of created this hierarchy and broken down the scale of the building to create a pedestrian zone, a parking zone, and an office portion of the building. Some of the inspirational imagery that our teams looked at runs across culture, the location, the color palette being of warm tones, the gold, the pageantry, the brass, the bronze of music within the city, but also really the Mississippi River is a huge inspiration to the team. The current, the flow, the ripples of industry that move up and down the river every day. Those are some of the things that sort of inspired the architectural design of the building, but were things that we were looking at as cues to kind of inspire us. The palette of the building is more warm tones, but falls within kind of that industrial aesthetic of metal, stone, concrete, and glass. This rendering shows the office building design as it fronts the elevation along Convention Center Boulevard. So as you can see, there's a strong articulation at the ground level of a double height space for lobby and retail, along with a concealed perforated mesh screen for the parking structure, and then 6 levels of office building above that. This rendering shows the corner of Convention Center Boulevard with UTERP and begins to show that connection to not only the park and the extension of the park from Parcel 5, but also the juxtaposition of the office building and the residential building and the relationship they have in creating sort of this walkable urban neighborhood at the base. Also, the adjacency to the bus rapid transit and the development of Convention Center Boulevard with its improvements. But again, the idea of really opening up the ground floor in terms of the lobby, adding as much transparency as possible, and providing opportunities for retail on the green space, as well as retail on the corner of Convention Center and Henderson. This is a view looking at that level 6 terrace. And really this building being sort of the first to set what we hope is a trend of rooftop terraces that start to provide not only great spaces for people to congregate and gather at upper levels of the development, but also to provide really great views as the projects develop and the development proceeds with more development to the north and to the south. At night, this rendering really shows the intent of what we're trying to do with, again, that lighting, the landscaping, the mood that's trying to be created with the warm color at the ground plane, the idea of retail really anchoring the corners of both sides of the building. This would be a view from the Convention Center looking across Henderson. Again, the connection down Convention Center to, with the focus on the smokestacks of the Market Street power plant, but really the way this building fits within the pedestrian realm and really amplifying that ground floor really up to 30 feet. And then finally, the building and the way it's sort of positions within the neighborhood and the green space. This shows really everything that we've been talking about, the idea of really activating the ground floor of the development with retail, the lobby, pedestrian, vegetation, public parks, public transportation, and really the proximity to the street and the urban environment. This plan starts to show the way the ground floor is really allocated. So on the corner of the main park and Convention Center is the lobby to the office building. On the corner of Convention Center and Henderson is the opportunity for retail, as well as on the park to the south. As you go around the building, really to the north is where most of the loading and access to the parking garage occurs. A lot of that is hidden by screening, whether it's landscape screens or trees, but the idea is to provide the necessary access that we need for a Class A office building, but the intent is to try to screen it and provide opportunities for landscape or art to help conceal those. By pushing circulation kind of inbound on both sides, that allows us to free up the corners at both intersections for retail and pedestrian activation. Part of the building has been tapered back along Convention Center to allow for more space between the street and the building facade. That allows more green space and space for patio for the retail and restaurant and F&B components. And then on the south side, again, having the public park with access to all the amenities that the building potentially can provide. Part of the master plan also talks about doing mid-block drop-offs for vehicular traffic, and that's a really critical aspect to the overall design of all the parcels. It's represented here with this drop-off. That's Ubers, visitors coming to and from. Getting those off the intersections and mid-block helps with traffic, but it also helps provide those more pedestrian experiences that we're trying to achieve at the corner of the development. This is a diagram that really shows that big idea of, carrying the main green space across the street and sort of anchoring it on that office building. So the intent is really this urban plaza as an extension and then kind of ties back to the future development on Parcel 2. But this is a massive amount of sort of green space that's sort of tied into the Phase 1 development, which we really like. It offers a lot of opportunities for things that can happen at the ground plane. Retail, lobbies, all front this. So it will be highly activated and a fun place to be. From a landscape perspective, going back to kind of what SMM had laid out, these are sort of the plants that you see that are native, that are local. These are the pallets that we will be using within this landscape zone. The trees are also dictated throughout the district, and these will be part of the Phase 1 office building design and also future design within the district. And with that, I think I'll pass it back to Nicole and Crystal.
Next, I have the pleasure of introducing Crystal James. She is, as I introduced her at the beginning of the meeting, she is our program coordinator for our SEB DBE participation, and she's just done a fabulous job on our outreach, and she's got some numbers that we'd like to share with you all because we're really proud of it. And just to let you know, not only do we have a commitment to the public benefits that we've laid out, but we also have a commitment to the small emerging business and disadvantaged business enterprise communities. If you are a small business, please go and register on our website, and Crystal will talk more about that so that you can receive opportunities. And think bigger. This isn't just for construction projects. This is for small retail businesses, professional businesses as well. And just for the people who might have gotten here a little bit late, I wanted to go over the rules again, and just so everybody knows where we're at. There are comment cards that our team has been passing out, and we are organizing those comment cards. We will address as many questions as we possibly can. We do have a hard stop at 8 p.m. If we're unable to address your question, then we will email you if you left your email address, or we will mail it to you if you don't have an email address and you left your mailing address. We will send you a response, and you will get a response from us. And also, all these comment cards will be included in the Neighborhood Participation Program report, which will be available online, so you can go and see all the questions that were asked and what our responses were. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. It really is an honor for Thomas Consulting Group to be partnering with the River District Neighborhood Investors on the DBE Participation Outreach and Compliance piece. And I think, like it's been said, equity starts at the beginning of this program. Their goal has been to exceed 30% participation of SEB DBE companies, and you'll see in a minute that we are actually over that amount. We really do want you to register. I'll have that at the end as well. Again, as Nicole said, this is a long project. So if you have a business, it might not be a need today, but in 2 or 3 years, you really do want to be in our vendor database. And I see several people that have attended one of our outreach sessions and are registered. Can y'all just wave a hand to everybody? I see several. Good to see you all. This is a journey that we're all going to take together. Here is our numbers, and we're off to a great start. We have over $1.8 million spent. That's 32% of the overall DBE currently. So already we're exceeding the goal. And not for nothing, we've also had 9 outreach events around all parts of the city and have 288 firms in our database already. We accept 3 certifications for River District. The DBE, that's the Louisiana Unified Certification Program that you get through the RTA, the Department of Transportation, or the airport. The SEB, which is the Louisiana Small Business Hudson Initiative, and the City of New Orleans Office of Supplier Diversity, they do the SLDBE. Let me go over them one more time. We accept the DBE, Louisiana Unified Certification Program. That's through the RTA, Department of Transportation, and the airport. Also, the Louisiana Economic Development Initiative, the Hudson Initiative is what we accept, and the state and local DBE certification from the City of New Orleans. Maybe you don't have it yet today, but you're in the process or you're thinking about it. We've had several certification workshops to show people the value of these certifications. Even beyond our project, it really is a good idea for you to be identified for your diversity. As I said, we accept these 3. We also have workshops to help you work toward that, and soon we'll have consultants in to help with bonding, insurance. It is our goal to make sure that you are successful and that local people here and diverse people get get work on this project. So, and it's just like the ownership from the beginning. Equity has been a strong theme woven into the fabric of this project. Register here for opportunities. River District NOLA, and you can go to the Opportunities tab, or you can hit your slash and hit Opportunities. riverdistrictnola.com, Opportunities. I'll leave that for a second. And any questions, you can email me directly, kjames@teamamcorp.com. I look forward to your questions, but more importantly, I look forward to seeing you at our events and seeing your company's name in our database. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Crystal. Now, I'll allow for a little bit of time for our construction affiliates to talk, because we do have projects coming up and opportunities, and I know a lot of you in the audience would like to hear about that. So let's see, we can start with Matt Ward with Broadmoor.
Thank you. I'm Matt Ward, Broadmoor. So the office tower that we saw for Parcel 2A, that's a project that we're going to be managing and building. So the biggest thing for us right now is we've kind of kicked off our outreach, and so a lot of you may have seen notifications in some of the journals and things like that, circulations. That stuff's gone out, and actually we're having our digital information session this Thursday. And so the big thing is to get registered so we can make sure we have you confirmed on our list. So we have over there Grayson's at the table. If you want to give us your information, you can sign up over there so we can add you to the list. The other thing would be the email, our email that we have set up for the project, which is rdni@broadmoorllc.com. And that will get you registered on the project so you can get the invitation to the information session. Like I said, that's this Thursday. It's at 3 o'clock. And you'll get an invitation once you get registered, and then you'll get it. It's on Zoom. It's all virtual, so it'll be about a 30, 45-minute session. We'll kind of go over the project, the timeline, get into more of the details, and the scopes and everything. So for us, we're really excited. We've been working, for those of you who don't know, we've been working just in this area specifically for the past 3 years. We've recently completed the aquarium expansion and renovation. And then we're actually currently working on the renovation here at the convention center, and we'll be here working on this for another, I think, 2 to 3 years. So we're excited to have another project in the area. We're excited to get community involvement, get DBE, small opportunity, the local hiring. You know, it's a project that we're also going to be using Hire NOLA. We want to get local workforce, so we encourage you to please get registered with us. Again, the email is rdni@broadmoorllc.com. So you can get registered and get the information, and then also you can stop by over at the table, get signed up or get any information from us. You can get my card and let us know if you have any questions. So, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And now, Nick, are you going to say a word? Okay, so we have Nick Fleming with Bow Brothers.
Hey everyone, good evening. Thanks for having us all here tonight. I'm Nick Fleming. I'm the DBE Program Director for Bow Brothers, and so I perform outreach, and then I also help manage our partnerships and foster them with small, disadvantaged minority and women-owned businesses. So I'll be here tonight if you would like to stop by and introduce yourself, give me your card. We have some upcoming opportunities on the infrastructure portion of this project, as well as lots of different state and local projects around the region. So I would say the opportunities aren't just limited to RD&I River District, but I look forward to meeting each of you and hopefully making a connection and seeing how you can help partner with Bow Brothers.
Thanks, Nick. And Gibbs Construction, we have representatives Stephanie Guidry and Trey Leday. Trey, if you don't mind taking the floor, thank you.
Hi, I'm Trey Leday with Director of Pre-Con at Gibbs. So Gibbs is a 100% women-owned business, and we're definitely committed to fostering DB relationships within the community. We've been around for almost 45 years. We've done a lot of projects. We actually just started one of the Calliope beautification projects. You'll see it right across the street from the convention center. We started that last week. We have a lot of opportunities within the city. I also want to let you know, so the first Friday of every month, we open up our office for any subcontractor to come in. We call it First Fridays. We talk about what projects we're bidding, and just for an opportunity for us to meet, for you to meet our team and for us to meet you. So Stephanie and I are right there. We have some business cards. We'd definitely like to meet y'all. Thanks, Nicole.
All right, and then you've already met Michael Meredith, one of our partners, RD&I partners. He is also owner of VPG, part owner of VPG Construction. So he has a little bit that he's going to say about. No, you good? Okay.
I'll keep it brief.
But while you're standing up here with me, I have to apologize to Sean Barney. It's CLB Porter, Sean. I'm sorry. I said the wrong name, so I had to have Mike with me to protect me.
I'll keep it brief, but I am one of the construction partners on the deal as well too, and do fall into one of the DB categories. But it's good to see the familiar faces, as Crystal said. But I'll be here hanging around, and my job is obviously to perform, here, but also to be a connector. And be able to make sure that we form the partnerships. Your bond and insurance may be in place right now, but our job is to outreach and provide those services, those connections to be able to build that up and hopefully, build those capacities up for jobs to come. So look forward to speaking with you on all levels post this meeting. Thank you.
All right, so we are at 7:20. We do have a hard stop at 8 o'clock, but if you all would like to take 5 minutes to get up, stretch, get something to drink, go to the restroom, and then we will start with the questions and answers. So. Okay, so I apologize. The room has spoken, even though, whatever. But we are going to start with the questions and answers, but you do need to give us a minute because I do need to collect those cards, okay? Thank you.
Okay, all right, sure. Again, thank you so much for your attentiveness and also for your being on your best behavior. And we are going to ask questions. Remember the ground rules. Respect, and no question will be answered if it's not on the comment card. Can I get your attention, please, in the back? Thank you. We're going to answer questions now. And the first question comes, will RD&I be proposing building taller than allowed by their overlay district? Current allowed overlay is 400 feet near the river, 85 feet near Chapatulas. Someone from the team, please take that question. We have a microphone.
I just passed over there. Sorry. Yes. Yes, there is no plan to ask for any variances in terms of height. Maintaining the 85 feet on Chop, and then potentially hitting 400 feet on the riverfront, but yeah, no need for a variance.
Thank you so much. The next question is, are there plans for bike lanes? Of the acquired 900 residential units where half must be affordable and workforce, how many units will be dedicated to these two categories? There's a couple questions here. First is the bike lane question. The second is, of the 900 required units, how many will be dedicated to affordable housing and workforce housing? And then what will the other 450 be? What types of homes to be sold at market rate will be built, and how much will be built of each type? So we'll take the first question first. Are there plans for bike plans?
No, there's no current plans for bike lanes. The plan is that, similar to the convention center promenade that we have right outside, it's quite a wide berth for bikes, pedestrians to mingle on that front. So if somebody's biking in from work or from their house into the museum district or the warehouse district, then the plan is that they'd go up the Convention Center Boulevard Promenade.
Thank you. And the second question to this three or four part question is, of the required 900 residential units, where half must be affordable housing or workforce housing, what would the other 450 be dedicated for?
Yeah, I mean, the remaining units are market rate units. We will be driven by, market dynamics. So, you look at the Standard, the Odeon, very similar developments. Those are market rate units and won't be income restricted, will be based on what the market rents in those areas are.
Thank you so much. Another question says, please explain in detail what you mean connecting Race Street, Annunciation Square to Coliseum Square. This question is from Susie Mizell.
Yes, so what we were talking about there was because we have that big green space on Race Street, there's not going to be an actual new connection done all the way up to Coliseum Square, but that route has been identified. That's a way that people are probably, walking and biking already today down Race Street, and being able to allow that to continue into the development.
Thank you for your answer. Access and connectivity to the rest of the city is key. The proposed BRT project would likely have nearby stops, but please explain the circular mentioned in the fact sheet. What is the circular, and why would residents at New Orleans East want circular through the River District every day? What is that connectivity?
Where does it say circular? Yeah. Yeah, we might have to get back about the word circular, but the RTA is planning the BRT line. That's their plan. And they have plans, like I said, to connect New Orleans East to downtown and also Algiers across the river. That's their current plan. And as well as hitting high-density locations along the way. And so the River District, they've identified as a high-density location because of, the nature of the development.
Thank you for your answer. Has the number of affordable housing units changed? How many can they guarantee be built? When? Where?
The number of housing units from our MDA has not changed. From our original commitment to the convention center, we've always maintained that we were going to do 900 units on the site, with 450 of those being affordable and workforce. I'm a former sports guy, and you never make guarantees, right? Like that is our commitment to this day, is what we've signed up from an MDA. So I think it wouldn't be prudent of me to guarantee housing on site. But that is our commitment. That is what we're moving 100% towards, and what we're mandated through in our agreement with the convention center.
Thank you for your answer. Are there plans to create a riverfront park? And if so, who will have access to it?
I'll gladly take that one. So we don't have plans to do a riverfront park, and obviously that's not part of the plan that we're talking about today. But it's not something that we're not interested in. We're just focused right now on the area between the area that we have control over, and that's what our plan is right now.
Thank you. This question is from Cedric Patan. Will Melpomene be two-way all the way as part of the River District development?
Melpomene would remain two-way the way it is today between Tchoupitoulas and Annunciation. It would not be extended, past where it is today, but it would remain a two-way street, yes.
Thank you. What is the plan for its infrastructure, running fiber optics or cable? Is it done good above ground or underground? What is the plan for the infrastructure, i.e. running fiber optic or cable above ground or underground? This is from Sister White, Ardell White.
So the plan is for power and connectivity communication lines to be run underground currently.
Okay, thank you. This is another affordable housing question. For affordable and workplace or workforce housing, is the AMI for New Orleans at large or specific to a more localized area like the LGD?
So we are held to HUD standards, and that HUD district actually includes Orleans Parish and Metairie, and St. Tammany as well too. And those numbers recently came out. So our 2024 current AMI is around $86,000.
All right, thank you. When are you contractually obligated to complete this open space / park space?
I can take that. So there isn't a time period. What it is the open space requirements are part of the development master plan, and we've interwoven that throughout the development as we described today. And if you want more specifics on that, we'll provide that in a response.
Thank you. When will this developmental master plan be available for us to see?
So the presentation, which contained the development master plan, that will be available along with the video that we're taking today. That will be available by Friday, April 26th. So please go to our website at riverdistrictnola.com, and you'll have a link so that you can view the presentation, which contains the development master plan, as well as next week we will have the neighborhood participation report, which also goes through development master plan as well.
Thank you. What is the AMI? What is the AMI? What will the rent be?
So I just kind of spoke on that. Is the AMI is 86,000, but the recent figures, but that changes on different scopes, whether it's one person, two person, how many people are in that space. So just as a high level average, a one bedroom will be somewhere between $700, $800 for an affordable tenant, somewhere between probably $900 to $1,000 for a workforce tenant, and go up there. So we can provide those figures. They're standard by HUD and not necessarily determined by us on an affordable and workforce basis, but we can provide some more details on that later as well too.
And just to piggyback off of what Michael said, we'll include the HUD AMI chart for the greater New Orleans area, which is what we have to follow. We'll include that in the response in the NPP report.
Thank you so much. This question is from Eric Hardy. Will bid packages be emailed to subcontractor, and when? How many buildings are projected to be built? Who selects the subcontractor, general contractor? Who selects the subcontractor, the general contractor, or River District Committee?
So I'll respond to that. So it depends on parcel to parcel, and depends on what the plan is. We'll provide a better answer, really, but really that it's a hard question to answer because every parcel and every building is different. RD&I doesn't have a committee where we select the contractors. It just depends on what parcel it is and what the development plan is for that parcel.
Thank you. There's a question. Please forgive me. It's Hazi Chang Chen from TQF South. Will there be a need for material testing and pre-construction inspection services? Will there be a need for material testing and pre-construction inspection services?
So there is a contractor who's been signed up to do the material testing once we begin. There was a solicitation early on. All the pre-construction services have essentially been performed, and we're ready to go to construction specifically on infrastructure.
Okay. His question is, will a water tower be included? Downtown water pumps shut down due to low pressure when cruise ships are in town. Are we addressing that challenge?
The short answer is we do not have a water tower planned, but we can provide, I guess, more information on infrastructure-wise, the water and how that works for the River District.
Thank you. This question is from Adam. What will the bicycle infrastructure look like for this project? Will there be separate bike lanes? I think we had that question before, and the answer was no. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The plan is to use the Convention Center promenade.
Thank you. What parcel number is the affordable housing going on? When is it contractually obligated to be built? I think we saw a similar question earlier, but not the parcel part.
Yeah, those are on parcels 5 and 6. So, and as well as parcel 7 in a later phase, but in particular to this, we're planning those on parcels 5 and 6. From a contractual obligation, we are finalizing our MDA with the convention center, and that is TBD. So there is no current contractual obligation on when all of those have to be finished, but that will be done and will be made public.
Thank you, thank you. This is a question for our friends at bikeeasy.org, Aline, and this is for Joey LaFonte. What analysis has been done around people biking in the area? Will there be bike facilities inside the River District, including considerations for long-term parking for residents and visitors? Last but not least, how is the River District going to address safe accessibility for people walk up and biking across Tchoupitoulas, where it's known to have speeding travelers?
There's a few pieces to that, so I'll answer, and I might need some reminding if I missed some of it. I apologize. So the first part was about the bike lanes again, or?
You said the first part was what analysis have been done
I'm sorry.
around
Yes.
the biking in the area?
Yeah, so we have a traffic model, which is a little more detailed than a typical traffic model, which would just look at cars. The model we're using is a microsimulation model, where we have pedestrians and bikes built in to evaluate as best we can. Bikes don't usually wind up with capacity issues. I think it's more so the second part of that question, or one of the later parts about ease of access across busy roadways and busy intersections. At Tchoupitoulas, for instance, we're proposing new traffic signals at Race Street to help, get people across that busy intersection. And we'll also have crosswalks, there and at Henderson, which we're looking to add to provide that cross connectivity. And then as far as I think there was a question about bike parking, maybe.
Yes.
And I don't know if somebody with Gensler may want to answer that.
Yeah, and that question, will there be bike facilities inside the River District, including considerations for long-term bike parking for residents and visitors?
Yeah, I think so. There probably will be in the future. It's gonna depend on each development and how it's developed. I can speak to, for the office building, we're providing bicycle parking in the landscape on both Henderson Convention Center and the UTERP side in the public park. We're also providing long-term parking storage within the building at the ground level for employees. So I think that strategy will probably be adopted, hopefully, on future development. But again, it depends on what's developed, how it's developed. But the intent is to provide those resources for cyclists.
And just to follow what Tiger was talking about, so the city of New Orleans does have bicycle parking requirements, temporary and permanent bicycle parking requirements for all business uses, not just buildings, but also business uses. And so, as Andrew mentioned earlier on in his presentation, we're going to meet or exceed those requirements in the comprehensive zoning ordinance, and bicycle parking would be one of those.
Thank you. We have a question from Kara, but I think we've answered this question. It says, please explain affordable housing. I think we did a good job of doing that. How much will it cost? I think we just talked about the cost for affordable housing. What is the median income it is based upon? I think we just answered that question also. But this question has not been answered. Is there a grocery store lined up for this project?
So we have been in conversation with various retail grocers throughout the country, and we look forward to continuing those conversations with them, but we do not have anything solidified at this point. Typically with retail, they want to kind of see what's going on with the project, and so we'll continue those conversations and plan for them to be successful.
Thank you. Next question is, what are the results of the traffic study, and how did it impact the master plan?
Yeah, so the results of the traffic study was basically the traffic plan that we looked at with the roadways configured as shown, areas for truck staging, the traffic signals that we mentioned at Race Street on Tchoupitoulas, as well as some reconfiguration of roadways near Tchoupitoulas and Calliope. There's a realignment of Tchoupitoulas, which you'll be able to see, if you look back at the presentation, it's in there. There's a lot to get into while we were there, but Tchoupitoulas being realigned with current South Peter Street, 1 block over. But it's not like you're turning off to go to it. It's actually a realignment of the roadway to separate out the different modes of traffic. Like we said, there's a lot of trucks making that movement today, and then they get to the signals on Tchoupitoulas and Annunciation, and there's a lot of different people coming from different directions at the same time. And it's kind of the technical answer. From a traffic engineering standpoint, we want to try to reduce the number of movements that we're sharing that signal with, because every time you have a red light, you have lost time, and people have to stop more. And so it's that reconfiguration. There's a few other things that go in with that, where we're able to add some additional turn lanes and through lanes at some of those intersections to get a little more efficiency out of them. At the same time, trying to make sure that, I don't think there's anything in the traffic plan that's kind of out there or an uncomfortable movement. Everything needs to feel natural, right? Drivers have a low tolerance for things that are, they can tell when stuff's weird, right? So.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you for your question. Will Race Street be improved? That's a laughter. I'll get some laughter here. Anybody, will Race Street be improved?
So there currently are no plans to go off of the RDNI site to do improvements on Race. Race will be improved on the RDNI site, so between Tchoupitoulas and Front Street. And then, as we said, there'll be improvements on Tchoupitoulas along that corridor and underneath the elevated section of US 90.
Thank you. This is a question, says, is there a permanent location for the Civil Rights Museum? If so, where, as part of this project?
So y'all are asking a lot of great questions. We do have the FAQ sheet that is available at the front at the sign-in desk, but I'll respond to that. So we've allowed space for the proposed Civil Rights Museum. However, that depends on the financing that they're able to secure. So while we encourage and support, we do not have any definite plans at the River District for that museum. So that's a response.
All right, here is a question from a DBE. Interested in the pre-construction meeting. When will that meeting take place, or has it taken place already? Yeah, interested in pre-construction meeting.
Okay, this is a DBE question. So if you sign up and you want to learn about any projects coming down the pipeline, that would be the way to learn about it. Okay, Matt's got an answer. Here we go.
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, our digital information session is this Thursday at 3:00, and so to get access to that, you just need to email our RDNI at broadmorellc.com, or you can sign up over there at the table. We got a sheet there if you want to give your info. But then we'll send you an invitation to the event, and then at the event on Thursday, you'll get more information on the timing, the timeline of the project, the scopes, and all that. But the digital information session to kind of kick it off is this Thursday.
A question: What is being done in this project to accentuate or represent the heritage and history of this community?
Well, I mean, in terms of cultural influence, Gensler, Tiger, or Andrew, do you want to take that? I mean, you talked a little bit about it, or not a little bit, a lot about that in the presentation. So,
I mean, there's an important aspect from us from a design standpoint. I mean, what was brought in at the beginning was the contextual map. So tying in with the industrial history of the site, obviously the history of the Market Street Power Plant and the Civil Rights Museum, I think is very important and something we encourage. There's a mixture of industrial and contemporary design from a mixed use standpoint that, you know, we're hoping to tie in and bring as part of the context of the neighborhood and New Orleans, but providing opportunities for the art and the history and the culture of the district and the city. And so those are some of the aspects that we'll be focused on within, you know, the future development of the master plan.
Thank you. All right, so here's the next question, and it's from Daniel Morris, maybe my distant cousin. Plans to alleviate pre-existing traffic congestion on St. Peter, South Peter, and Calliope. How will port traffic getting on the high rise in additional to increase traffic? Okay, how will it be accommodated? So how will port traffic getting on the high rise, in addition to increased traffic, be accommodated?
Yeah, so that's why the traffic study looks at existing issues as well as the additional traffic from the site and looks to improve both. You know, a lot of traffic studies, you would just try to get the future developmental trips back to existing conditions, but we all know existing conditions are not really great, you know, that much today. And that traffic study that we've done, it's a full day study because obviously there's different traffic movements that happen at different times, right? Certainly, like the truck traffic is actually heavy in the middle of the day, most of the day, but it tapers off a little bit before that afternoon rush hour starts. And so there's a little bit of different things happening there. And the goal is to find improvements at the ground level for existing conditions. Now, the one thing that we really don't have control over is the congestion on the expressway itself headed towards the Superdome. It's a much bigger problem that I know DOTD has been looking at for some time, but we don't currently have anything that we're looking at, you know, above the ground up there.
Thank you. The next question is, and I think we've touched this question already, is there a scenario where the affordable workforce housing is moved or changed again? Is there a scenario where affordable housing is never built? I think you answered that question earlier, so thank you. Okay, so let's let them answer the question again. Is there a scenario where the affordable/workforce housing is moved or changed again, underline? Is there a scenario where the affordable housing is never built as part of this project?
I mean, housing is a part of this project, and if there's housing on this site, it will be a mix of affordable and workforce. I mean, for me to predict what happens 20 years down the road, I think would be disingenuous. But we are committed to parcels 5, 6, and 7 to building housing on those sites, and on those sites they will have affordable and workforce housing. In 20 years or so? I did not say that.
He didn't say 20 years or so. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. You can have that sidebar after the conversation. We have another question about Louisiana Civil Rights Museum, and I think we answered that question, Brenda. earlier. To ensure that the effects are positive to the Lower Garden District, how does the River District plan to ensure inclusion of LGD vendors, most importantly contractors, in the development?
How, read it again?
Sure. To ensure that the effects are positive to the Lower Garden District, how does the River District plan to ensure inclusion of LGD or DBE vendors, most importantly contractors, in the development?
Sure. One way we're ensuring it is the vendor database. And every contractor that does start a project accesses that. So what you have to do is make yourself available. And like I said, we're already at 34% and $1 million spent. So this is $1.8 million, forgive me. So there is real opportunity. You'll have to stay engaged and come to the different pre-bid conferences, but it's happening. Whoever asked it, are you still in the room? Did you have anything particular?
And this question also, and is that really it's, the question is, how do they ensure that Lower Garden District vendors, most
Sure.
importantly contractors in the development, are included? The person who's writing this he's a DBE who
Right.
lives in the Lower Garden District.
We're intentional about hiring small businesses, local businesses, and diverse businesses. And I don't know that I can guarantee that a contractor in the Lower Garden District gets work, but we will guarantee that local businesses across the city have the opportunity.
Thank you. Will you use mature landscape trees over 20 feet between apartments? And that's the question.
Yeah, I think with the development, the intent is to have more mature trees, as well as new landscape design. Some of that's predicated, obviously, on the economics of each deal, but the intent is to save as many trees as we can. There's not a lot on the site. It's a pretty vacant site, so a lot of it will be smaller trees that will grow over time, but if funds can support development, the intent would be to bring large trees, preferably oaks, into the development. So for the office building portion, we have one area dedicated to a large-scale oak tree, but most of the landscaping will probably be smaller caliber and new trees.
Thank you. As we get close, we only have a couple questions left. I want to thank you for being a wonderful audience. Thank you, and it's appreciated. We have 3 questions here. How many years are you obligated to offer affordable housing? Does someone want to take that question? Is there a time frame that you're obligated?
Yeah, I'll speak to our HUD and LHC requirements. So those requirements are a minimum of 30 years that those units must remain affordable based on HUD and LHC standards. Our internal commitment is for this to be long-term affordability, and we've spoken to our consultants about that, and that's something that we're going to stand firm on as well, too.
All right, thank you. The second question is square footage of green space. How much square footage of green space is incorporated into this project?
I don't have the current square footage, but as each parcel is developed, that grows. So parcel 2, for instance, the green space was increased from the original plan. We have the current acreage of the public park, but I don't have the specifics on the actual square footage, unless that's something. We're exceeding the 20%. Yeah.
And we also
the intent
have,
is to exceed the 20%.
And we also have the Auburn, the email address once we get that information. Last question was who's designing the stormwater management plan? I think we heard you talk about stormwater management plan, but who's designing that?
So who's design?
So ILC Engineering, who's a local civil engineering firm, is doing all of the infrastructure design. That's undergoing review by the Sewage and Water Board and did a and they're a DBE firm as well, and the Department of Public Works.
All right, here's the last question of the evening. And it comes from Krista Rock. Not Chris Rock, Krista Rock. The awards for affordable housing was mentioned. So what does that mean? So no affordable housing is set to be built yet? Where will the community be able to see the awards? And that is the end of the question.
I'm assuming they're talking about the Prime 3 awards. It's going to be public knowledge. It'll be published by LHC and sometime the end of the summer. We're not purely dependent on this as a source of our affordable housing. We're currently looking at other phases. If you see in our document, there's a phase 1 and there's a phase 2. So we're looking at other phases are not purely funded by Prime 3. There are other opportunities for us to get subsidy, and that actually takes community support to our leaders to be able to allocate. There's a upcoming bill for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund at the City of New Orleans that citizens will vote on, that we'll be looking to be able to get dollars from. So we look forward to that continued support and appreciate all the questions on affordable housing and moving forward. It's more complicated than that. There's multiple subsidies that are in this. So the CDBG, the Prime 3 are CDBG dollars, right? That is Community Development Block Grant Funds, along with LIHTC equity, along with city subsidy, along with convention center support, just to be able to make one.
So we're not taking questions from. Okay. So if your question was not written down, we are not taking follow-up questions. We're not taking follow-up questions. Well, you can meet with them, or you have time after this meeting is over. We are not. We said the rules in the beginning, and the rules will be adhered to in the beginning.
They're not for the community; they're for the developers. These rules.
Okay, we are closing the meeting now. Thank you so much for your time.
Not hard stop, not 8 o'clock.
Thank you for your time. God bless you and peace be with you.